Welcome ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to take a look at the Stamina Dragonknight. I will have examples from Life and Morrowind PTS. I want to show two types of builds. I want to show you the Maelstrom build with the Maelstrom axes and daggers and the heavy attack build without them. So you actually can see the differences and how those builds are affected. So on all builds I have here, like I run 5 pieces, twice-fanged serpent, 2 crog, I have a light and a heavy armor piece. Then I have 3 pieces, vicious serpent, and now when it's the Maelstrom build I use a Maelstrom axe and a Maelstrom dagger, and when it's the heavy attack build I just use 2 vicious serpent swords. Obviously you also could use like Hunting's Rage instead of vicious serpent, I just didn't have anything else. As you see, I am a red guard. Like with a Kashyyyk I would obviously get even more damage, but take a look at the resources here in Homestead. With the Maelstrom build I have no problems keeping up my resources. Like it's almost overkill. I could easily use a Kashyyyk and I still would not have any like sustain issues. And now you think, oh, the sustain is great, but keep in mind in a raid situation you have to block, you have to dodge roll, so you will lose stamina a lot faster. 40k, pretty solid DPS. We all know Stamina Dragonknight is really strong on single target. Now let's see what the same build does in Morrowind PTS. Keep in mind I adjusted the champion points accordingly, like as good as possible, because they're more front loaded now, so it wouldn't make sense to have the same champion points allocation. Once we all know, like once I figured out the best build, obviously I will do a new build video, so just be patient till then. As you can see, stamina just disappears, okay? Like you can go search it, but it's not here anymore, okay? It's just gone. And the reason why that is, all your abilities cost 5% more, then you just lost 7% from like medium armor cost reduction. On top of that, Red Guard got the nerf. Battle Roar, you don't get as much stamina back as you used to, and same with Helping Hands. There's just so many things that got nerfed, it's completely insane. Oh, and I almost forgot the 16% champion points. That's also gone. But there's like all abilities cost so much more, it's completely insane. And this here is now on a target skeleton. We are not blocking, we are not dodge rolling. It would even be gone faster in boss fights. I'm constantly struggling for stamina, it's not gonna get back up, and I cannot keep my dots up because I have to heavy attack, so I lose uptime on a lot of dots. The DPS meter is in the middle there, you see it's a lot less than on the live server, and that's not the problem. The problem is we are a red guard and we have no sustain whatsoever. So in a trial you would be dead because you have no stamina whatsoever. So is this viable, this certain build here on Morrowind PTS? No, it is not. So now let's check a heavy attack build on Life and PTS. I swapped out the Maelstrom weapons with 2 vicious serpent swords, sharpened. Obviously, like I use 5 twice-fanged serpent and 5 vicious serpent together with Krog. You could use 5 twice-fanged snake or serpent together with 5 Hunting's Rage, so you actually can craft daggers, because those swords, and like I've never seen daggers, because we lose a lot of crit chance with those 2 swords sadly. But I do think, keep in mind, like Vicious Serpent has 8% cost reduction and it gives you stamina when something dies, so I do think they're pretty nice even for a heavy attack build. Now also keep in mind, like here I actually, because we are a heavy attack build, I could use a Kashyyyk. I would gain another 8% crit, or an Orc. As a red guard on a heavy attack build is just overkill, it's not really necessary at all. The damage difference between this build and the Maelstrom build is not really huge, right? So heavy attack builds are already really strong. Like if I had Hunting's daggers maybe, I probably would get 39k DPS, barely any difference to the Maelstrom build. On top of that, in a raid, when the enemies are off-balanced, your heavy attacks do 40% more damage. The only downside to that is your whole group will lose time on off-balanced, right? Because every time you do a heavy attack, it removes off-balanced. Yes, you gain DPS, but everybody else loses DPS. As you can see, it's like cult drops changed now. You have to basically reapply it every rotation, because I think it's 14 seconds, and it works like a normal dot now because they changed it. And it costs a lot. Like on this heavy attack build, sure, I do heavy attacks, so I regain a lot of resources. Heavy attacks are faster on dual wield, so we don't really lose that much DPS. All the skills cost more, but again, it doesn't really matter because we do heavy attack, so we restore a lot of resources. Another good thing about heavy attack builds on the PTS is because, like for example in the new trial or somewhere else, you need to block a lot and dodge roll or break free. So a heavy attack build like that doesn't rely on recovery, because every time you block you lose all stamina recovery. But if you do heavy attacks to restore stamina, it doesn't matter whether you block, because you don't regain a lot through stamina recovery anyway. Stamina Dragonknight is kind of the least affected by those changes here on the Morrowind PTS, because yes, you cannot run a Maelstrom build anymore with light attacks because you run out of resources, but you can change to a heavy attack build, barely lose any DPS and still have great sustain. Now the big problem here is, how are the other classes coping with this? That's the problem, because yes, on a Dragonknight I can do heavy attacks and molten armaments, you will deal a lot of damage. Other classes don't have those super sexy tools like molten armaments, so they will suffer more than a stamina Dragonknight. I will also try to do more of those videos on other classes, so you actually can kind of compare and we see where the problem is. I will do more of those videos. I want to compare a little bit all classes, magic and stamina wise, so you also can see where the DPS is. Once again, like on stamina Dragonknight, the transfer is pretty simple. You just go full on damage, heavy attack build, and you're good to go. You barely lose any damage. But how are other classes affected by this? For example, can a stamina Templar or let's say a Magicka Dragonknight still reach about the same DPS, or do you also have to swap to a heavy attack build? Like for me, on a stamina Dragonknight or stamina builds in general, I don't mind the heavy attack weaving too much on dual wield because it's a lot faster than on other weapon types. But on a Magicka Dragonknight or Magicka Templar, if I have to heavy attack, I will just delete the character because it's not fun. Really simple. Like I will just have to play something else that actually then also does really great damage and has really easy like survivability. But yeah, we will see. I have to do more tests first. Anyway, thank you for watching and have a nice day. Cheers.